I imagine that is something that you do say to yourself.
Yeah.
And I've heard you say before things that are just like weird to me. You say like, oh, what matters to me is how many people are reading my blog, and when a lot of people are reading it, I feel so important. And then you said it another time, you actually said that you consider yourself a thinker.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh my God. You know, it's like, let other people say these things if they would even dare to. I mean, I wouldn't call you a thinker because the only thoughts you have are Dennis Prager's. So
I have a lot of thoughts about sex.
your whole thought thing has been taken over by this guy. It's like
he's a zombie. He's inhabited my brain and taken up residence there.
I don't consider you. I don't even know if you've ever had an
original thought.
And anytime I bring to you something that is obviously truth, you can't even recognize it. You're not a thinker. You can't process new information. I give you things, it's clearly the truth, and 5 minutes later we see you make the same damn mistake, and it goes in one ear and out the other. I don't consider you the least bit a thinker. You're not an honest thinker. You tune everything out. You're not a thinker. The next thing is, you go by how many people go to your blog. It's got to be pointed out to you at some point that if it wasn't for your porn, nobody would ever go to your blog, okay? It's people looking for porn. Okay. Second, who cares how many people are there or not? I mean, I guess it makes a difference in terms of hits, in terms of getting money. But why should that determine your self-esteem? I don't follow that. You know, there was a time when I was huge on the internet. In 1997. In 2007, if you went into Google searches, right, and you put down the word rabbi, R-A-B-B-I, generic word, and you went on Google Images, I was the first photo that it was, not the Lubavitcher Rebbe, not the Rambam, the picture that you would see first, the very first one was me. Okay, so I'm a has-been now. Nobody cares about me, you know? That was when I was in a movie that was an Academy Award winner, right? No, today I'm a has-been. I don't care about that. That doesn't affect my self-esteem. What might affect my self-esteem is if there was a woman in my life. That affects my self-esteem because it's like when I'm alone and there's nobody in my life, I feel like a piece of shit. I feel worthless. But if I have a woman and I'm complete, okay, that's it, right? But all this other stuff you've hooked onto is, and I can say a source for that, because the Torah recognizes that it's no good for man to be alone, and we are not creatures. God did not create us as creatures to be alone. He created us non-independent. We need to be with somebody else. But this ego crap, where your self-esteem is determined by your accomplishments, is Western. That is not a Torah concept. So it doesn't even compute to me. It doesn't. I don't know if it computes to anybody else out there in the Torah world, because what you're bringing is Western values, and it's, oh, what are my accomplishments? How have I built myself up? Oh, I'm not built up right now, therefore I feel like a failure and I'm my low self-esteem. But those are Western ideals. It's almost as if your parents pushed Western ideals into your brain, and that is your measurement of yourself. And when you don't add up to what you think you should be according to Western values, then you look at yourself and you say, I'm not a success. But those are not Torah values. Torah cares about this. Are you doing mitzvahs?
Yeah.
Are you seriously doing mitzvahs?
Yeah, I didn't sleep with my mother. I didn't sleep with any family member.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. Well, save that. Okay, so
I didn't sleep with animals.
Okay, you're doing the mitzvah. Oh, yeah, you know what you just did? You just qualified for the 7 B'nai Noah.
I didn't sleep with guys. I didn't sleep with other people's wives.
All right, we're gonna get it.
Not recently.
If you're learning Torah, you're doing mitzvahs, and you have your brain on straight. You understand Torah. You're thinking in terms of Torah values. You know, and you know what God wants, and He wants you to get married, and He wants you to have kids, right? Right? Yeah. And you're doing something about that.
I want you to blog and get thousands of visitors.
Forget the blog. That's not part of Torah.
Oh.
What God wants from you
is to be on the cover of the Jewish Journal.
No. God wants from you is just to be a follower of Torah and mitzvahs, get married, have kids, bring them up front.
That's on 60 Minutes.
No, God, that is all West. Those are a combination of your ego, your own personal goals based on Western values. And you know what I mean by Western? Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah.
Western as opposed to
Hellenic, as opposed to Jewish.
As opposed to Jewish. Right?
Hey, did you guys see me on 60 Minutes?
No, and nobody cares.
Hey, come on, who's the biggest self-promoter here, you or me?
I am. No, you are.
No, you are.
You are.
Like, I was in an Academy-nominated movie. I'm Rabbi Rabs, the first rabbi comic. I was the rabbi on MySpace. Like, you know, read Rabbi Rabs' Facebook status updates. Like, you're every bit of the self-promoter that I am.
Yeah, but I don't care. It doesn't affect my self-esteem.
Really? It doesn't? Like,
no.
When good things happened in your acting and comedy career, that didn't affect how you felt about yourself?
No, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. No, I even wrote.
So you were miserable even when you were successful.
No. Yeah, it's in my book. You read it, right? Even when
I was thinking about my 60 Minutes appearance some of the time I was reading it.
I wrote in my book, Chapter 2. It's not good for man to be alone. What do I say? I say it doesn't matter how many people you make laugh, how great your show was. You could be on stage for an hour cracking up a gigantic room. You could have 500 people and they're laughing their asses off. They all love you. But at the end of the night, I go home alone and they all go home with their wives and their girlfriends or whatever. And this sucks. Right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that stuff doesn't matter because what really matters, right, is are you married? Is there somebody in your life who loves you? And that's more important than fame and success or by Western standards, you know, making people laugh, being on stage, being popular, and all that notoriety. It's all garbage because it doesn't. It's empty. It's not real. Torah is what's real. Learning Torah, and in your case, you have a chance to have kids and get married and bring kids up, send them to yeshiva, and that whole business. These are things that are real. The other stuff is it's artificial. It doesn't really do anything for your soul.
Did you ever watch yourself, like, with your pants around your ankles? Like, you know, watching a video of yourself performing on TV or in a movie, and it's like, ha, I'm King Rabs, I'm king of the world. Ha 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 ha. No.
No.
You don't get off on your own.
No. Reb Taco asked a question. He said, Raz, if stand-up paid well, why did you stop? Who said stand-up pays so well? The great myth of stand-up comedy is that it pays anything. The way it works is stand-up doesn't really pay anything unless it's like a vicious cycle.
Do hand jobs count?
No, it's like a catch-22. The only people that get paid a lot of money to do stand-up, it is people who have their own TV show.
Right.
But how do you get your own TV show? The only way you can get your own TV show
is doing stand-up.
So the goal of stand-up is to get your own TV show. I was never going to get my own TV show because the card deck is stacked against me because it's a whole long story, but Hollywood, the people who are making the decisions in Hollywood are a bunch of self-hating Jews. I come along, there's no way they're ever going to give me my own show. And that is a fact. That happened. We talked about it here. And so it's a no-go. I could never make a living in that profession.
Do other comics who've had equivalent success to you, do they get laid a lot? Like, do they get pursued by women, like medium success comics? Or is it only the highly successful comics?
I had a lot of women coming on to me.
They wanted to sleep with you?
All the time. All
Wow.
the time.
And you think they would have actually done it if you'd responded?
Well, that's the problem. See, the thing with me is I don't do it, so that's part of the sexy, that's part of the mystique. Right? If I did it with every girl that came up to me, then
Couldn't you, like, pretend to be asleep? Because it wouldn't be Nevera if you, like, thought you were sleeping. And
all right, let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next topic. All right, so we talked about Rosh Hashanah. Want to remind everybody that